The birth of the P-51 was kind of fortuitous in that it started as a different aircraft. The British Air Ministry in 1940 was very hard put to field sufficient fighters to counter the Luftwaffe, and so the Air Ministry came to North American, an upstart young company in California, and asked that they build some P-40s. Now the P-40 was not a first-line fighter, and Dutch Kindleberger, the owner and chief executive of North American, countered with a proposal to build a new airplane from scratch. Well, the British Air Ministry said, we don't have that kind of time. We need the aircraft immediately. And Dutch Kindleberger says, I can have this airplane flying in 100 days, from design to prototype to flying in 100 days. And I think they were quite skeptical, but they did sign a contract, and he did make good on his boast. Well, the first flying P-51s were very good, but were limited because of the engine, the Allison engine. And someone in Britain, a test pilot in Britain, got the bright idea to put a Rolls-Royce Merlin in the P-51, and that marriage of the P-51 with the Rolls-Royce Merlin was kind of a marriage made in heaven. It made the airplane. It was actually a superb, and it was a quantum leap over existing fighters at the time.
Clear.
The early P-51 was the B model. Now the B model had a greenhouse canopy with bars across that you had to look around. It also had a laminar flow wing. Now all the P-51s had a laminar flow wing, but the B model had only 450 caliber machine guns, 2 in each wing, and the installation required that they be canted over. And required the ammunition feed to enter the gun at 90 degrees, so it had to make a bend. And we were told up front that if you fired the guns while you were pulling 4 Gs, which was not uncommon in a fight with an enemy fighter, that you were probably going to get a jam. Now the reason this is critical is that you can't charge the guns from the cockpit. If you get a gun stoppage, you're out of business until you land and the armor can run around through the chamber. And so this was a decidedly disadvantage, and I must confess that in my early days I got involved with an ME-109, got excited, taking all manner of ridiculous shots, and all 4 guns jammed, and I'm attacking and firing away at these ridiculous high G shots, and all 4 guns stop. Now you talk about a tiger turning into a rabbit in about half a microsecond. That was me. Very embarrassing, particularly when we'd been told this would happen. Well, when the D came along, As you can see, they put six guns aboard, 3 on each wing, and the gun installation was upright, so the gun jamming problem essentially went away. Well, I'm frequently asked, what does it take to make a fighter pilot, and what does it take to make a successful fighter pilot? I wish I knew, because if I did, I'd probably be a millionaire. In the course of my years of flying fighters and flying combat, I've come to several conclusions requiring what characteristics makes a successful fighter pilot, and I think the principal one, you find all kinds of personalities, but the thing that's common to all successful fighter pilots, in my opinion, is the fact that they're very aggressive and look for contact with the enemy. I think if you looked at a frequency distribution of fighter pilots, you'd find that perhaps 90% of them will do their job. They'll go out, and if they have a chance to refuse combat, perhaps they would. If push comes to shove, they'll fight when they have to. Perhaps 10% would just as soon not go, and would seek every opportunity not to have contact with the enemy. And the upper 10% are the hunters. They've got the glint in their eye, and they're actively seeking contact with the enemy. They want to mix it up, and they're very confident in their ability. They're all excellent pilots, not necessarily superb pilots, but perfectly in control of their airplane, and perfectly in control of their emotions when they can think clearly in the midst of bedlam where people are screaming, "Break, break," and you got him, look out, he's on your tail, and all kinds of nonsensical radio transmissions. You got to cut this all out. Pay attention to your sight picture, watch for your wingman, watch for the enemy fighters, and you got to do this all at the same time, and it tests the senses. But successful fighter pilots do this, and of course you have to be lucky as well. You have to be mounted on an aircraft which will compare favorably performance-wise with the enemy fighters. But basically, I think it's the spirit of aggressiveness which makes a successful fighter pilot. The P-51 is, in my opinion, is a beautiful airplane, well proportioned, and it's a thoroughbred. It looks like a racehorse, even parked at the ramp. Just standing there, it looks like it's going 200 miles an hour. And there's an old saying among pilots, test pilots, that if it looks good, it probably flies good. And that was never more true than in the case of the P-51 Mustang. It's just a joy to look at, and a joy to strap it on, and a joy to put it through its paces.
Ladies and gentlemen, 3 fighter aircraft. The Corsair. Here comes Brian Adams.